sentence. The eye is now on the inside of the tank, staring through the glass at the man. The transition happens just like that. The story ends with the axolotl hoping that he's succeeded in communicating something to the man, in bridging their silent solitudes, and that the reason the man no longer visits the aquarium is because he's off somewhere writing a story about what it is to be an axolotl. The first time Aura and I went to Paris together, about 5 months after she'd moved in with me, she wanted to go to the Jardin des Plantes to see Cortázar's axolotls more than she wanted to do anything else. She'd been to Paris before, but had only recently discovered Cortázar's story. You would have thought that the only reason we'd flown to Paris was to see the axolotls, though actually Aura had an interview at the Sorbonne because she was considering transferring from Columbia. Our very first afternoon we went to the Jardin des Plantes and paid to enter its small 19th century zoo. In front of the entrance to the amphibian house, or vivarium, there was a mounted poster with information in French about amphibians and endangered species, illustrated with an image of a red-gilled axolotl in profile, its happy extraterrestrial's face and albino monkey arms and hands. Inside, the tanks ran in a row around the room, smallish illuminated rectangles set into the wall, each framing a somewhat different humid habitat: moss, ferns, rocks, tree branches, pools of water. We went from tank to tank, reading the placards, various species of salamanders, newts, frogs, but no axolotls. We circled the room again in case we'd somehow missed them. Finally, Aura went up to the guard, a middle-aged man in uniform, and asked where the axolotls were. He didn't know anything about the axolotls, but something in Aura's expression seemed to give him pause, and he asked her to wait. He left the room, and a moment later came back with a woman, somewhat younger than him, wearing a blue lab coat. She and Aura spoke quietly, in French, so I couldn't understand what they were saying, but the woman's expression was lively and kind. When we went outside, Aura stood there for a moment with a quietly stunned expression. Then she told me that the woman remembered the axolotls. She'd even said that she missed them, but they'd been taken away a few years before and were now in some university laboratory. Aura was in her charcoal gray woolen coat, a whitish wool scarf wrapped around her neck, strands of her straight black hair mussed around her soft, round cheeks, which were flushed as if burning with cold, though it wasn't particularly cold. Tears, just a few, not a flood. Warm, salty tears overflowed from Aura's brimming eyes and slid down her cheeks. Who cries over something like that? I remember thinking. I kissed the tears, breathing in that briny Aura warmth. Whatever it was that so got to Aura about the axolotls not being there seemed part of the same mystery that the axolotl at the end of Cortázar's story hopes the man will reveal by writing a story. I always wished that I could know what it was like to be Aura. Où sont les axolotls? She wrote in her notebook. Where are they? Aura moved in with me in Brooklyn about 6 weeks after she'd arrived in New York from Mexico City with her multiple scholarships, including a Fulbright and another from the Mexican government, to begin studying for a Ph.D. in Spanish-language literature at Columbia. We lived together almost 4 years. At Columbia, she shared her university housing with another foreign student, a Korean girl, a botanist of some highly specialized kind. I saw that apartment only 2 or 3 times before I moved Aura's things to my place. It was a railroad flat, with a long, narrow hallway, 2 bedrooms, a living room at the front. A student apartment filled with student things: her IKEA bookcase, a set of charcoal-hued non-stick pots and pans and utensils, a red beanbag chair, a stereo unit, a small toolbox, from IKEA too, still sealed in its clear plastic wrapper. Her mattress on the floor, clothing heaped all over it. That apartment made me feel nostalgic as hell. For college days, youth. I was dying to make love to her then and there in the sumptuous mess of that bed, but she was nervous about her roommate coming in, so we didn't. I took her away from that apartment, leaving her roommate, whom Aura got along with fine, on her own.